Welcome to Chaotic Harmony. I am your one and only host, Angela Schultz. I thought I would celebrate my husband's 1 year sobriety today on this podcast. I am almost positive this is probably the worst way to do it, but I never do things the way that other people think they should be done. I never listen either, because to me that is boring. So today, I will be sharing a very few, minute amount of drunken tales. When I first met my husband, Tony, I knew he drank alcohol. I mean, we met at a bar, and I bought him a freaking beer that first night. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that all out. He never hid the fact that he drank. He also never shared how much he drank, or how often either. I had grown up with an amazing grandpa that had a drinking problem. That didn't make me love him any less. I never once judged my grandpa on his drinking, so I didn't want to judge Tony on his. When Tony and I were dating, one of the main activities we did when we didn't have our children was going out and having a few drinks. I had a few drinks, I should say. I am a lightweight when it comes to drinking. Some can consider me a cheap date, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Give me a few. I'm drunk and you can continue. Oh man. Some nights were great. Some nights were not so great. One time we went out for a few drinks downtown. When Tony opened the bar door, he saw a woman sitting on a stool. And he started mumbling something along the lines of, like, I don't like that woman, or something like that. It could have been even worse. I'm not sure. He had a few drinks under his belt at that time, so he said something, I don't like her. As we made our way to the bar and ordered some drinks, I instantly felt like someone was staring at me. So I kind of look over and I glance at the woman, and she's freaking giving me the stink eye. The woman Tony didn't like is staring me down. I became confused. Why was she doing that, and why didn't he like her? She was acting like I stole them. And that didn't make any sense to me. So I just straight out, did you fuck her? Now, my husband is no Brad Pitt, okay? But, he is fucking hot. He could have gotten any woman in our neck of the woods. Still can if he tries. Shit, I'm totally lying to you. Even if he doesn't try, he can still get the frickin' women, okay? He said no to my question. He didn't fuck her. And that he just knew her. He never really gave me a real reason as to why he didn't like her. I honestly just left it at that. There was no reason for me to go on into it. I just wanted to go and have a good time. So I sat down, I got a drink, and tried having a good time with him. As the night went on, Tony got, shall I say, more spirited. A bit more friendly and loud is more like it. I got up to use the bathroom that was conveniently located near the woman that Tony made clear he didn't like. I wasn't in that bathroom very long at all. I just want to point that out. I literally pissed, washed my hands, and got the hell out. When I walked out of that bathroom, that woman that was right in my freaking spot, sitting right next to Tony, extremely close to him. I knew I didn't drink much that night. Maybe 2 drinks. I was working on number 3. I was not drunk. My eyesight was just fine. The few seconds it took for me to use that goddamn bathroom was just enough time for the woman to get up from her seat, get real close to Tony, and pretend his arm was a freaking etch-a-sketch. She was a grown-ass adult drawing a dinosaur on my grown-ass adult man's arm like she was in middle school. I don't care what anybody says. She was flirting with him, or she was trying to piss me off, okay? I knew I was with him, and she knew I was with him. My blood was freaking boiling. He said he didn't like her. He said he didn't fuck her when I asked him. He even laughed at that stupid question. So what the fuck am I looking at? I walked past them. I grabbed my drink and I just simply walked past them. As they continued to giggle at each other, and I had to sit further away. I was about to lose it. I wanted to leave the bar and go home. I also wanted to punch something or someone. I am by no means I am not a fighter, but seeing that pissed me off. I tried not to look in their direction because it only pissed me off more. I needed it all to be a joke. I decided enough was enough, and I yelled for Tony to come over by me. Stink-eyed bitch over there has drawn a freaking dinosaur on his arm, had the biggest smile on her face as she saw me trying to get his attention, as if she was taunting me. Tony yelled back, "She's just drawing a dinosaur on my arm." Joke, right? I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were actually there for him to get a fake tattoo of a dinosaur from a woman he said he didn't like. I thought we were going there to have a good time with each other. I don't remember word for word exactly what happened after that, but I do remember just enough. I remember the way it all ended. Tony came over by me after he was all done getting drawn up on, and I heard Stink Eye talking shit about me. I was not going to have it. I said something to her about how she was a fat bitch, and she fired back with, "I am fat. I can fix that. You can't fix your ugly." That was the straw that broke the fucking camel's back. I started to charge towards her. That bitch got the best of me. Tony followed behind me, chanting, "Fight, fight, fight, fight," like he's a freaking cheerleader or my MMA coach. I'm still charging towards her as if I were a bull let loose in a freaking rodeo. My fear of actually fighting her was starting to kick in. I had that cold sweat while I was making my way towards her. I don't want to fight. This is not me. I just yell words and I pretend I can fight. That is literally about it. And I shouldn't be admitting that, but that is the truth. I yell words. I act like I can fight. I will not fight. I am not a fighter at heart, just with my words. I quickly look back for a way to get out of there as I'm continuing to charge towards her. I noticed the back of the door of the bar was right behind her. That was my exit. As I made my way towards her, Tony is still following behind me, cheering me on. I got so closer, and then I took a sharp left and went straight out the back door. The adrenaline was running through my body. I just wanted to go home. I couldn't believe I almost fought someone. And Tony wanted that. I started to calm myself down and walk down the alley where Tony's car was located and just get my breathing to slow down. And then that freaking door that I just ran out of swung open. Stink-eyed bitch stood there yelling a bunch of shit at me. And Tony, the man I was in love with, was standing behind her, waving his hands in the air, chanting out, "Yeah, pussy, 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 fight, fight." That was it for me that night. That was it right there. I got in his car. I cried my goddamn eyes out. He didn't even come back out of the bar after all of that. Didn't come to check on me. Absolutely nothing. I sat in that damn car for at least another half an hour contemplating my life before he decided he drank enough. He never wanted the fun to slow down or stop. The next morning, he just laughed it all off and continued to call me a puss for not fighting her. And when I mean continue, I mean to this day. Every once in a while, he'll bring up how I'm a puss and don't fight. Get over it, babe. Get over it. Okay, so it might be all funny now, but that's only because it's done and over with. Actually being in that moment where he is all fucked up sucked big balls. Every single time. With him already being a natural hard ass, the liquid courage he drank only intensified his persona. He would become very cocky and arrogant to the point where it was not fun anymore. His jokes were not funny. They were hurtful. But to him, we were the ones that were actually cocky and arrogant. We were the ones ruining his fun. He would get pissed at anyone that couldn't handle his jokes. We all needed to chill out and take a joke. It was a complete mind fuck. every single time. Don't even know why I continued on with that. But Tony wasn't always cocky and arrogant when he drank. The best way to describe it is like flipping a coin up in the air. And if it landed on heads, he was fun and silly. You knew you were going to have a great time. Tails? Oh, good luck. I hope you have tough skin that night. He was going to be testing your patience all night. Fun fact, I never have tough skin, never did. I'm trying really hard to get some. When he asked me to go with him to Crandon, Wisconsin to see his cousin Adam's band, I got excited. One, I was going to be going on a little road trip and we were going to have to stay overnight somewhere. Why would I say no to that? And two, I never saw Adam's band live. All of that sounded like an adventure I couldn't pass up. Once we got into Tony's vehicle, there was no turning back. We just needed to make sure we were there on time to find a place to stay the night and find the bar that Adam's band was playing at. Easy enough, right? Well, no. I have never been in that area and neither had Tony. Finding a place was a little bit harder than we had anticipated. The place we did end up finding was a bit sketchy, and I'm not joking around about this. When I say it looked like Bates Motel, okay? It felt like it too. It was like an old lady owned it, and it looked like bedrooms in her house, but it wasn't. It was messed up. I looked at Tony as we walked to our room, and I told him I felt like it was like either someone was killed in there or that we were going to be killed in there. And the randomly placed ice machine, accompanied with the dark freaking wallpaper and shaggy carpeting, didn't help my situation either. I was wondering if there was any peepholes for the owners, just in case they were watching us. I went from being happy we found somewhere to stay to hoping I would wake up the next morning. We decided to make the most of it, though. That's all we could do, so fuck it. If there's peepholes, we'll give them a show. I don't know. Let's go and have a blast, basically. Tony has social anxiety, so he would always drink to calm his nerves. The bar that Adam's band was at was small and it had more people than Tony cared for. And I mean, literally, that could be one person in there, really. But I mean, it really was kind of packed. So he drank even more. And that led him to almost being on stage with Adam, headbanging all night, screaming the lyrics to every song while being right next to the mic, staring into Adam's soul. He wasn't on stage, but like he was right there, okay? It was like right in. It was kind of creepy and hilarious all at the same time. I, being all country and shit, it's not really my kind of music. I do love that band, not my kind of music though. So I just kind of made my way to the bar and enjoyed everything Tony was doing from a distance. It was awesome seeing Tony in his comfort zone for the most part and actually having fun. It was hilarious watching him get into Adam's face and become one with Adam in the band. I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I was next to Tony. I wouldn't have gotten to see how much Tony stuck out from the crowd and how much he truly appreciated every single song. I actually remember like wondering if his neck was going to fall off from the amount of headbanging he was doing. It was pretty intense to say the least. Overall, that night was a blast. And I was sure Tony was going to, be sore the next day after watching him do all of his dance moves that I never even knew existed, which is basically just lunging his whole body forward and headbanging. Watching Tony in his element that night turned this farm girl on, okay? Anything really turns this farm girl on. I wanted to get him back into what I call our Bates Motel and save a horse, ride a sexy tattooed headbanging zero give a fucks man. I wanted to, and he certainly showed me he wanted to as well. So climbing on him and, enjoying it would not have been an issue. I climbed on top of my sexy tattooed man and started enjoying myself. I had my eyes closed and I was taking every second minute in until I started hearing, yeah, snoring. What the fuck? I opened my eyes up to look at him because he was still, hard. There was no way he was sleeping. Like, I was not that boring. I'm still not that boring. I stopped all action. His eyes were closed, and he was indeed fucking sleeping. I was not having sex with a sleeping man. I attempted to get off of him so he can continue sleeping, but then all of a sudden he woke up. That shit's embarrassing. I moved my leg over, and when he just took it, he took over the action, and he started getting it all started up again. I was super confused, but I don't give a shit. I wanted it to continue on, so save a horse. You know what I'm saying? A girl has needs. I closed my eyes again and enjoyed the moment, and then again, snoring. Okay, what the fuck? I did make sure I got off of him. Even when he tried to keep me there, I told him I loved him. He mumbled, "I love you too," and then snored right in my face. I laid there feeling a bit awkward, and even telling you this is a bit awkward. I did not but I slowly fell asleep, hoping we weren't murdered in the morning. When I woke up the next morning, I felt like I was drenched in something. It was everywhere. Before I even opened my eyes, I immediately thought, oh my God, this is Bait Motel. I swear I'm going to open my eyes and then there's going to be fucking blood everywhere. Did I kill him? Did they kill him? Like, oh my God. And then I heard Tony snoring. I opened my eyes up and there he was. And then I saw it. It wasn't blood. I was drenched in Tony's piss. Yeah, he was so drunk he soaked that entire fucking mattress with piss. I woke Tony up freaking out. Now, I'm not a fan of golden showers, so yes, I was a little freaked out at this. He slowly woke up and just began laughing at the whole situation. Thankfully, we survived that motel. The motel, however, did not survive Tony's extra large bladder that night. Now, have you guys ever heard of a chew run? I never heard of a chew run either, okay? Tony had a hardcore chewing tobacco. He was a hardcore chewing tobacco user. I grew up thinking that shit was nasty, and I swore I would never be with someone that chewed. Tony hates smokers, and he didn't want to be with anyone that smoked. Then we met each other and did this thing called compromise. He wouldn't bother me about smoking. I wouldn't bother him about chewing. He just left out a few of the details that went along with his chewing. He already knew what came with my smoking. One of his details was called a chew run. Whenever Tony said, "I'm going on a chew run after work," that meant he was picking up some beer, driving slowly down the back roads, music cranked up, making his way to town near us and purchasing some more chew, then taking a different way home so that he could finish off his beer or whatever he just bought. Some chew runs lasted longer than others. It all depended on his mood that day or how much beer he had left. The longer chew runs, I did not like so much. Only because that meant he drank more, and I felt like I had to walk on eggshells. Or my face just said it all when he walked in. I can never hide my feelings because my face says it all, and he knows me so well that I could just look at him and he just knows instantly. All he had to do was look at me, and then we would argue because he knew I was mad even if I was saying no because of my face. Oh, I hate it. I still hate it to this day. He would never, he would eventually, after the fight, he would lay down in bed and pass out for the night. And I would lay on my side of the bed, replaying the argument we had, and the next morning would come, and it was like nothing happened. Nothing was wrong. I would try to talk about whatever we argued about that night before, but it came down to having to agree to disagree. It was so confusing, messy, and hard. And speaking of messy, there was one night I was having one of those dreams that felt so real. I was like, this dream, so don't judge me here, okay? I was in a bathing suit under this huge waterfall that was just breathtaking, and I had my fingers running through my hair, And I went under that waterfall and I was dipping my head in there. It was amazing. It was incredible. And then my dream stopped right there. I woke up to something actually hitting the top of my head. The thing that was hitting the top of my head was the bottle Tony had been spitting his chewing tobacco in all night. It was right above my head, still in his hands as he laid there snoring and sleeping. That dream I had was inspired by all the contents that were in that chew bottle slowly dripping down my head and my shoulders. Ugh. To this day, that was literally the nastiest thing I've ever had to wash out of my hair. Ugh, I can't even believe I shared that. It was nasty. So yeah, I don't like waterfalls anymore. For Tony's 30th birthday, I wanted to throw him a party. He never liked celebrating his birthday. I never understood that. But I wanted to celebrate him. He was worth celebrating. I planned it all out at a bar that it was actually walking distance from our house. I invited a bunch of family and some of his friends and made all the food. I wanted everything to be perfect. Once again, I wanted everything to be perfect. Tony hates getting attention. Any kind of attention. I didn't really think of that. I thought I was doing something sweet. Instead, I actually created an environment that just triggered his social anxiety. His coping through anxiety is drinking. I mean, I knew he was going to drink. I planned it at a freaking bar. I just didn't plan on him getting so messed up that he would get mad at me for trying to stop him from walking into the woman's bathroom to see another woman's tits and whatever else she was offering him that night. I couldn't stop him. It crushed me. He pushed me away and I walked right out of that bathroom. I'm not sure what actually happened at that bar that night. I'm not sure if I ever want to know what happened that night. But I just packed up and I left. I got into our home because, like I said, it wasn't very far away. I locked the doors and I cried my ass off. Yeah, I cried. Get over it. I felt so stupid. I knew his one beer really meant 5. 5 beers really meant 15 and so on. So I'm not sure why I was so surprised about this. So whatever. I laid on the couch doing my poor me. I had to keep reminding myself he was an amazing man. He's an amazing father. He is an amazing provider. He was going to tell me he was sorry in the morning. My mind was swirling with all kinds of emotions until a few hard knocks interrupted me. I got up and checked to see who it was. I opened the door and I saw Tony's cousin Jason. He was barely able to stand up straight and looked extremely exhausted. Now Tony, he was completely passed out and looked very relaxed, only because he was laying on top of frickin' Jason's back. Jason managed to put Tony on his back at the bar and slowly walked him home. Jason was in the army, so I'm sure he's used to that experience, like no man left behind, I guess. But like, Jason asked me, where do you want him? And I pointed to the cement Jason was standing on. And with a quick move, Jason just kind of, and then Tony dropped down and was laying on the cement in fetal position. I thanked Jason for bringing him home. He left it simple. Yep, no problem. And then he just took off. I stared at Tony for a little bit as he laid on the cement. I wasn't sure if waking him up was a great idea. As bad as this is going to sound, I ended up shutting the door and I laid back down on the couch. I at least knew he was home safe and he did look comfortable. I'm just going to throw that out there. After that was all said and done, he said he doesn't remember anything from that night besides just simply showing up. He may not remember, but Jason and I do, and I'm just saying, like, we knew. Now, sometime after Tony's birthday, I found out I was pregnant. I was going through I need to clean everything stage. That's funny because I always am in that need to clean something stage, but I really was. And I decided I wanted to get rid of clutter. I'm having a rummage sale. This, it would help us out. We'd make some extra money and we'd be getting rid of some unnecessary items. Tony, right off the bat, said he didn't care if we had a rummage sale. He just wasn't going to participate. He hated them, and that was that. I was okay with that. I just wanted to get shit cleaned up. After I had everything priced and sorted out on the tables, everything figured out, Tony went through some of his personal belongings and decided he was going to, put some items up for sale. The last thing that he took out to sell was like a bullet belt. It looks like it came from a war or like a prop from the movie Rambo. The bullets were filled with paint. I told him, I was laughing my ass, like, no one's going to buy that. He told me it would sell. I just needed to watch. That's what he said, just watch. Then he put a tag on it for $5. Okay, I'm watching, Tony. I'm watching. I worked third shift, so I planned on coming home that Friday, staying awake, and having the rummage sale till about 5 or 6. Then I would go to sleep afterwards. I planned that out anyway. That doesn't mean it worked out that way. That Friday came, and I got home from work, opened up the rummage sale. The first customer that showed up walked around for a while. He was looking at everything. And then he stopped. He picked up the bullet belt and smiled at it. I literally sat there watching the man, holding on to it as he admired it. Pointed out that the bullets were filled with paint. He took out a $5 bill and handed it to me. As I told him, he told me it was the coolest thing he has ever seen. It reminded him of being a nom. I guess Tony was right. For once in his life, he was right. I could not believe it was not only sold, but it was the first item sold. Seriously, to this day, I think he set it up. I'm just throwing that out there, babe. I think you set that one up. That day went by fast, and the money was made. When Tony came home from work, he told me he was going to do a chew run. Well, I asked him to bring back pizza because I was starving. I was pregnant. I was feeling like I was starving all the time. He kissed me and said he would be back with a pizza. As Tony left our driveway, I laid my head down on the pillow and I passed the fuck out. I woke up to an empty bed, an empty house, and an empty driveway. It was really late and I didn't have one message on my phone or a missed call. I was also starving. Where the hell was Tony? Is he okay? Where's my food? Why isn't he back already? I called him. And I called him. And I called him. As soon as it went to voicemail, I would hang up and call it again. After some time of doing that, the call went through and I heard some background noise. And I started crying. I was so scared he was dead or something. And someone had his phone, but here he was. I kept asking for Tony, like frantically, come on, is Tony there? Just Tony, if you're there, just answer. But then the phone ended. The phone call ended. I called again, and Tony answered it. He sounded like he was completely wasted. I asked him what happened. I didn't understand how a chew run managed to turn into going out to a bar. He was pissed off at me for calling, bothering him. He was having fun. I was ruining his fun again. Blah, blah, blah. He thought I was going to be sleeping, so he didn't see the big deal in it. Then the phone call ended again. I cried there for a bit. I decided I would wait, and then I called him again. He answered it, and it sounded like he wasn't in the bar anymore this time. He was telling me how I was telling him how upset I was, and then Tony yells out, "Great, this is your fault!" Like my voice, babe. "Great, this is your fault. If you wouldn't have called me, this wouldn't have happened." Apparently, at that time, he answered the phone while he was in his vehicle driving home. I never told him to answer it while he was driving, okay? I didn't know he was driving. Anyway, he drove his truck that was jacked up into some swamp water and not only got stuck, but it was in there. Like, there was no way it was getting out, even if he was sober. He told me I had to come pick him up. I didn't know where the hell he was. This man showed me one time, his chew run in the back roads and said, "Don't remember all this." So I don't actually pay attention. I really don't. I was supposed to know where he was now based off of that one time. He yelled at me even to hurry up because he was going to lay in this swamp water to hide because it was pretty bad. Before he hung up, he gave me the best, the very best directions I have ever gotten from anyone in my entire life. I needed to leave our yard and then take a left and then a right. Or no. Take a right and a left. No, a left and a right. What in the hell am I supposed to do with that info? I thought I was the one that gave out the bad directions. I mean, I am, but those were pretty shitty directions. I got into my van and I drove to where I kind of remembered his back roads were. It was honestly close enough to a left and then a right. As I drove down that country road, Tony's truck started to get closer and closer to me because it was really dark out. Tony's truck was buried up to the frame. It was dark as fuck out. So I'm not even sure how I even found him with those amazing directions he gave me. I stopped the van in the middle of the road and I was looking for Tony. I didn't see him. I don't know where the hell he is. And all of a sudden, the door opens up and he pops in there. He is covered from head to toe in nasty ass swamp water, stinky ass smelling, you name it, whatever the fuck is on him. Yelling at me to hurry up and get the hell out of the area. He had told me that someone had stopped there and asked him if he needed help, and he wasn't sure if that person actually called the cops. As I started to drive away, no joke, I turned onto a different street, and that's when I saw the cherries in my rearview mirror. Cop lights, for anybody who doesn't know what cherries is. I got us home safe, and I was afraid of actually getting in trouble because I helped him leave the scene, so I got some water and poured it on the engine, hoping it would cool it off. I mean, a cool engine equals me not helping, right? While I was doing that, Tony got himself into our house, got into bed. His swamp water clothes and shoes were laying on the floor next to our bed. I went and laid on the couch. He not only had me really upset, but he also smelled so fucking bad. No, thank you. I was sleeping in the living room on the damn couch. I wasn't too far along with my pregnancy, but just enough to not be comfortable in any position. So as I was trying to get comfy, Tony's phone started ringing from our bedroom. I laid there, waiting for it to stop. But like me, whomever was calling was very persistent. It just kept ringing and ringing. It stopped and then ringing and ringing. And because Tony was passed the fuck out, I decided I'd get up and answer it just so it would stop, so I could sleep. It was a police officer asking if Tony was okay. The police officer told me they found his truck in a swamp area and he wasn't actually in it, and they wanted to make sure that he wasn't hurt. Yeah, I told the police officer he was laying right in the bed, and I'm looking at him right now. He's fucking sleeping. But he wanted to talk to Tony. I tried waking him up, but that wasn't happening. It was like poking a sleeping bear. He would make this like growling sound or mumble something, a bunch of nonsense, and then roll around in our bed. The police officer told me he needed to hear from Tony when Tony woke up. I promised the police officer that he would. I promised him I told him. I strongly believe that police officer didn't trust me one bit. Not one bit. And I'm only assuming that because in less than 10 minutes after that phone call, after I got all nice and comfy, there was a very loud and intimidating knock on our door. It sounded like an angry knock. Whomever was on the other side of our door was making their presence known. That is for sure. I got up quickly and I opened that door with some caution, and standing right in front of me was a police officer, and his very large flashlight was like shining right in my freaking eyes. He said he apologized for showing up so late. Really? Then why'd you show up? But he said that an officer from a neighboring county asked him to stop by just to make sure Tony was okay. I already knew what they were trying to do because Tony stunk really bad like alcohol, so I wasn't stupid. But I was officially over with this whole evening. When was it going to be over with? I just had no more energy. I was pregnant. I was tired, cranky, and hungry. So I became extremely welcoming to this police officer. I wasn't sure if he was there to arrest Tony, but I was sure that if I woke Tony up, shit would hit the fan. I wasn't going to do that. I walked the police officer to the entrance of our bedroom and pointed to the very dirty, covered, stinky ass Tony. He was all rolled up in a blanket, almost like a burrito, and the burrito was snoring. The police officer walked to our bedroom and shined his huge ass flashlight onto Tony, yelling out, "Tony, are you okay? I was sent to check on you." Geez, if that would have worked for me. Tony's response was not exactly welcoming at all. At first, I wasn't sure if Tony even knew where he was, let alone who he was talking to. But Tony proved me wrong. He mumbled something about a pig and then started actually snorting like a goddamn pig. The police officer kept the flashlight on him. I'm trying not to freaking laugh the whole time. Like, oh my God, I can't see if he's so much trouble. Oh my God, this is hilarious though. Tony, he asked him, how did you get home? I answered, I was watching a movie and I was in the living room. I heard a car stop. Then Tony walked in. I could only assume that he was dropped off by a friend. I knew I was lying. The engine was cold though, so proved me wrong, if I get in trouble for this now, then obviously. The officer tried engaging Tony again, and it ended with Tony swinging his arm in the damn air while telling the officer to go fuck himself. I stood there in complete silence. Strange, I know, me being quiet and all, but I wasn't sure what was going to happen next. Yeah, I was mad at Tony for his actions that night, but that did not mean I wanted him to actually get in trouble. However, whatever was going to happen was totally out of my hands at this point. The officer left our bedroom, and then I followed him. He said to me that, if the other county officer wanted Tony arrested so badly, they could come and do it themselves. It was something along the lines of my husband being too big and strong, I guess. I thanked the officer, and I walked him out of our door. I lay back down in the couch and thanked my lucky stars that nothing happened to my drunk-ass man. And the next morning, we drove over to the police station. Tony was obviously given a bunch of fines, and we had to pay to even get his truck out of impound. Strange thing, though, is the amount of money that was needed to pay off for all of his fines was the exact same amount of money we made in our damn rummage sale. So we didn't make anything, and I was out of pizza. That sucked. I mean, I get pizza, but it sucked that night anyway. Once our son was born, Tony's drinking seemed to slow down a bit. His true runs seemed to get shorter and shorter. We stopped going out for drinks, obviously. I mean, now we had 8 kids at the time, so who the hell was going to watch 8 kids? We even got married. There was a few minor hiccups here and there, like normal for any other couple, and if you don't fight, then get over yourselves. You need to fight. There's nothing wrong with fighting, but also nothing we couldn't handle. Life itself at that time seemed to be going down a great path, and we seemed to be a happy family of 10. That was until my mental health went to shit, and I damaged us as a couple and the family that we created together. The pain I caused Tony was too much for him to bear on his own, so drinking became his best friend. He drank to numb the pain and shut his mind off for a while. The problem was, drinking only intensified all of the feelings and the pain he was trying to get rid of. I never blamed him for that, and I still never blame him for that. He was trying to hide the pain. He was trying to numb his pain for a while. Once he would sober up, he was right back to that raw pain, and it didn't seem like we were going to get anywhere or be able to move forward. It crushed me watching Tony torture himself over and over, knowing that I was the one that caused all of the pain in the first place. Some years went by, and my mental health was still all over the place. I was in and out of the hospital, and I was going through med changes constantly. I'm not giving myself like an out. I'm just saying that's what happened. And so, in other words, Tony was not only the sole provider for our family, he was also coming home and having to be both mother and father, and he was already exhausted. He was cooking for our entire family, maintaining the household as much as he could, and tried like hell to not lose himself in the process. So I have to, like, that takes a lot. I don't think there's a lot of men out there that would do all that. Drinking was his only escape from his new reality. We were still fighting all the same fights we had years ago. He was still extremely hurt, and my mental health was not getting any better. Not helping the situation at all either. It was only making it harder for any healing to happen. Then in a blink of an eye, our family, as we knew it, was already bad, and it was flipped upside down in the worst way possible. Within 1 year, we lost my ex-husband, John, who was a father to 3 of my sons, Maxwell, Matthew, and Garrett. And he was very close to my daughter, Abigail. So there's 4 kids right there. And then we lost Tony's ex-wife, Jill, who was the mother to 3 of his children, Jordan, Peyton, and Shelby. She was also my best friend, and she considered all of my children hers. But most of all, she was very close to our son, Colton. So every single one of our children lost a parent, and my husband and I lost somebody we had children with, we cared about, we were married to. Our entire household was in mourning. Hell, we are still in mourning. I'm trying not to cry as I speak about it. In the middle of losing their parents, I had another med change. I was starting to slowly get better, which meant I could be there for the children more, especially when they needed me the most. I wasn't having any suicidal thoughts. I wasn't freaking out as much. I was more present. It was touch and go for a little while, but I didn't expect less. Tony didn't seem to be ready or maybe even willing to see the change in me. And I understand that, I really do. I also think it had a lot to do with everything we were all going through. And plus, people don't change overnight. And he saw me manic for like 10 years on and off. As I was getting better, he seemed to be getting worse. I got super frustrated that he wouldn't try to slow down or stop the drinking because he was putting himself in danger. Talking to him about that, though, only made him want to drink more. And even every once in a while when I make jokes, he's like, "Oh, you're just making me want to drink more." Drinking was the only way he knew how to manage anything. The night he knew he needed to stop drinking was the night he caught himself pissing into our truck's radiator. And I'm going to say that one more time. Pissing into our truck's radiator. He wasn't on top of the truck pissing into it. He was standing on the road and like peeing a big rainbow stream into the radiator to cool it down. Because he couldn't find the water jug we had in the back. We're redneck. Our vehicles aren't great. He managed to get home safely that night and hasn't had a drop of alcohol since that night. Once he stopped drinking, we had all of those hard talks that we should have had a long time ago. Those talks sucked ass, but those talks were needed in order for us to heal and to move forward. We started going on dates. We started actually enjoying each other and truly appreciating each other. He even started reaching for me in his sleep like he used to in the beginning of our relationship. It feels like our marriage is the strongest it literally has ever been. Our children have grown better bonds with him as well. Heck, just a couple of days ago, our son's teacher said something about my husband's banjo. And I guess our son is going to school bragging about how awesome his dad is at playing the banjo. And that's weird because my husband makes my ears bleed when he plays it. But it's not the point. It's the point that our son thinks it's the coolest thing. That his dad's doing something different. It has been a little more than a year since he got sober. Over 365 days of living life to the fullest. not taking anybody for granted because you never know when their last day is their last. The memories we made this whole year are amazing. We watched some of our kids graduate. We became grandparents. We watched our oldest get married, and there's so much more that goes on in that. The best part is all of those memories that we made this last year, he can wake up and still remember. This is all possible without alcohol. He just needed to figure out how to navigate without alcohol. Now, I know he's going to hate me for this, but here it goes. Babe, sorry you're going to hate me for this. Babe, I am so proud of you. I know you don't like when people are proud of you, but I am. You have shown me, our children, but most importantly yourself, that the struggle is real, but worth every second of it. I can't wait to continue down this road called life with you and see where we go next, because simply it's been amazing. Thank you, hun, for being my favorite weirdo on this fucking earth. I love you so much. And nothing is impossible. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in and listening to me preach about all this. I appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't already checked it out, go on my Facebook page on Chaotic Harmony and let me know how I'm doing, because I need to hear it from me. Join me, or I need to hear from you. Join me and my troop, my family, as we embrace the weird and go and make normal feel boring. Bye.